Now, with the number of confirmed coronavirus cases currently put at 52, small business owners are reeling under the impact. Apart from panic buying, the pandemic has forced some traders and SMEs to change their core focus, whilst others are contemplating outright closure due to low patronage. Prince Appiah has been engaging some business operators in Kumasi.
Kwesiampedu joins this queue, waiting for his turn to pay for items he had purchased here at Opoku Trading Supermarket at Edum.
You know, obviously, because of COVID-19, we are all trying to stay safe and trying to limit public outing. So I've come here to do a lot of purchases to stock my fridge so that I don't go out.
Since the president's announcement of mass gathering restriction as preventive measures, sales at Opoku Trading Supermarket have increased in many folds. Managing Director Opoku Buama acknowledges this is panic buying.
There's been panic buying. People are coming in their hundreds, all in a bid to buy as many of the essentials as possible. Hand sanitizers, cleaning agents, toiletries, then basic food items, rice, oil, canned fish. I can see that sales have stepped up considerably, far more than the average sales we were making before the formal announcement.
Though the development is good for the business, he particularly fears new supplies might come with hikes.
We haven't hiked our prices, but we haven't received a lot of new supplies. I am only praying that new supplies will not come at prices that are far higher than we used to have, because at the end of the day, the purchasing power of the consumer is key.
This period comes with increased demand for sanitizers and other toiletries. Other traders in Kumasi have switched businesses in order to cash in on the increasing demand.
I'm a tompano. Now, when you buy and me feel I am a
bread seller, but this business is good for now. So when everything is over, I sell for a week more, then I revert to selling bread. I have sold 10 boxes of sanitizers and a nose mask today.
The effects of the coronavirus pandemic has extended from personal hygiene to impacting on the local economy here in Ashanti region and by extension the nation. A lot of businesses are now feeling the pinch of a lot of people staying indoors and caring about their personal hygiene. Hairdressing and barbering salons are hard hits. Dinah Mamia Kwabwa Bosompem owns 360 Naturals, which runs a natural hair salon.
It's a very busy salon, but for the past 1 week since they announced the outbreak of coronavirus in the country, we've recorded very low patronage in the salon. In fact, for Monday, we've had only 5 clients walking in, and it's really affecting our business.
Dinah has, however, joined the business of sanitizer production in order to stay afloat, but the hikes in prices of raw materials is making it difficult.
Raw materials, production materials, the bottling, the packaging, the alcohol, the ethanol, everything too is on the rise, and it is in scarce now. So every aspect of life now has been hit by coronavirus.
He's one of the many struggling businesses, considering laying off some of her workers.
I have more than 10 workers now. At the end of the day, they can't just come here, work TV, use utility. That's an additional expenditure. So we just have to close the salon. Then they join us, or we just lay them off.
With a lot of people unable to go to work, purchasing power will reduce and businesses will suffer. For now, all hands must be on deck in efforts to contain COVID-19 so normalcy can return and get businesses and all economic activities bounce back. Prince Apia reporting.
And it's not just the businesses. Hotel managers are anxious about the future of their businesses as the coronavirus pandemic knocks them out of operations. Some hotels have already started laying off staff as occupancy rate drops. My colleague Charles Aite has visited the Marriott Hotel in Accra to learn how the business is surviving in these challenging times.
Teachers, lonely poles, dial conference halls. This is what you see upon visiting the Accra Marriott Hotel. This is unusual but expected as the coronavirus pandemic escalates worldwide.
It's been tough. Business has been really bad. We're almost in single digits now.
For hotel managers like Frank Eduajo, this unexpected lean season has left hotels with no option but to cut down the costs.
Currently, we haven't laid anybody off, but we predict that people will start going on leave soon so that, it gives the operation the time to recover. But as you can see, there's business is very low. So if you have, say, single digit percentage, and you have over 100 staff, then the ratio doesn't match, and it costs a lot. There's electricity, there's water bills, there's so many things that have to be paid for. So it just makes sense that the numbers are reduced.
The hospitality sector is the most exposed when it comes to the transmission of the coronavirus. Marketing and communications manager for the Accra Marriott Hotel, Frank Eduajo, says even though exposure is rife, security has been beefed up for staff and guests.
We have put measures in place that help. So, for example, everybody knows that every 20 minutes they have to wash their hands, right? It's not something that we take lightly. Every 20 minutes, go wash your hands for 20 seconds. Because the virus, would still be on your hands or will not be completely killed if you don't wash for 20 seconds. So that education is going down, and it's going down very well. And we are encouraging all department heads to make sure that is being done. And aside that, we have, as you said, you don't talk about sanitizers, but they are very important at this time. So there are sanitizers everywhere. Before you enter the hotel, you have to sanitize, and you come in. And the good thing is that we're looking at your travel history. There are a few questions we ask you when you get to the front desk to see where you've been. So that in case there's anything, we have the ready available information for the health workers. So we're doing our best to make sure that everything goes well, following all the guidelines that have been set out to make sure that your stay is comfortable.
The damage that COVID-19 will have on the hospitality industry is immeasurable. Already, Joy Business has learned that some hotels have considered running shifts or even laying off contract workers, if not closing down completely, just so to manage the cost of operating amid empty rooms and cancelled events. On a good day, this art gallery of Marriott Hotels Accra is filled with so many people, guests, businessmen and women, and corporate Ghana. They come here to have their various conferences and even events, but you can see for yourself how empty and dark the whole place is. This is a stark reality that various hotels across the country are facing amid the coronavirus pandemic. They're calling for some interventions. They're calling for governments to intervene in this particular crucial moment when their business is on the brink of collapse. I'm Charles Aite for Joy Business.
Well, in other news, total exports for the country topped 2.7 billion cedis as of the end of February 2020. That's according to the Bank of Ghana's summary economic and financial data for March 2020. The country's total exports saw an increase from 2.6 billion to 2.7 billion cedis. Our imports also saw a dip from 2.2 billion to 1.9 billion. What else can we learn about exports and imports? And the report, joining me in studio, Philip Namfori. He's got all the details. Philip, some good news in the midst of
yes.
bad situations.
Yes, there is.
Tell us about this new report.
So this summary of economic and financial data is released by Bank of Ghana on a bi-monthly basis. So after the Monetary Policy Committee, this report always comes out. So last week we had the Monetary Policy Committee meet and abruptly cut the rate because we were expecting on the 23rd of March. So this report has also been released following the standard protocol. And in there, I extracted information on our exports and imports. But the report looks at other things. So from the monetary sector to our debt numbers. So anytime there's a story about debt, our debt has increased, it comes from this report also. We look at payment systems data, how mobile money is doing, etc. It's a very large report in terms of numbers, about 20 plus pages. But I picked exports and imports, and I prepared about 7 different infographics for our viewers and listeners to enjoy. So I want us to start with the first one that looks at total exports in Ghana. And it will give us a picture of an increase of the exports. So you see in there that in February 2019, total exports was about 2.665 billion Ghana cedis. In 2020, we've had an increase to 2.75. Some may argue it's marginal, but I think there's some good progress in there. But what makes up these exports? What are the main exporting items? Let's go on to the next one that looks at, I think, our gold exports. I hope my guess is right. Yep, our gold exports, yes. So February 2019, we did, in value terms, 932 million in terms of gold exports. In February 2020, we are doing 985 million. Now, we also go on to the next important item, which is cocoa. Very important when it comes to the Ghanaian economy. And we're doing 558 million. Now, look at what we've got in February 2020, 679 million in terms of the value of cocoa exports. So some may ask, is it price? Is it quantity? It may be both. I'll leave that for now, but we can speculate on both. It may be both price.
Because I was going to ask, what did it? I mean, what changed between the previous year and now?
The report doesn't give you the exact, what we call footnotes of how exactly, what fed into the increases in these things. But as an analyst, I can do a little bit of supposition. If I got the English right, supposition, yes. So yeah, that's for cocoa. The next one are our oil exports, and very important figure in there. There's a drop with regards to our oil exports. Very, very interesting stuff. We are seeing increases across the main 2 commodity lines, but in terms of value of exports, we see a drop from 730 million to 681 million.
What you're seeing happening around us globally?
That's the most attributable explanation. I don't know why my English is a bit off today, but you can see the drop in there. So that's for our exports. Now let's go into our imports and see how we did in there. Now let's look at total imports. And so that's also that's for oil imports, and we see how much we've brought in. That can also be explained by the reduction in the price. If we're doing 416 million worth and we're doing 340 million now, I think that's good news for us.
That's good news
for us. Now we can also go and look at the non-oil imports and what other things pertain in the Ghanaian economy. You can see that we were doing 1.871 billion, and then in February 2020, we are doing 1.634 billion in terms of non-oil imports. So you can see that the data is mixed, but it paints a large picture when it comes to exports of increases, apart from
But generally, it paints a good picture, right?
Yes, it does.
But all of that is going to be affected by the coronavirus outbreak. And that's why I want to bring in Jerry Kwabena Adenkwa. He's with the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. He joins us all the way from the US, I believe, to tell us, because he imports stuff from Ghana to the US, and it's going to be affected because of this coronavirus outbreak. If you can hear me, Jerry, thanks for your time tonight. How are you doing? Can you hear me, Jerry? All right, we'll try and fix that, but let's talk about the impact of coronavirus on these figures that we are seeing, because I believe that we are going to see the figures change because countries are not importing, and I don't think we are going to export so much within this period. Okay, so let me start with oil. We may have had contracts that had prices locked in at a certain cost per barrel. If we can still execute on those contracts, we're going to get what we require. However, future contracts in terms of supply and then delivery of oil may be impacted or will be impacted by the dip in the price of crude oil. So we should expect
in May, that's when the next report will come out, a dip with regards to that. With regards to imports, we'll be benefiting. But here's the case where we have to look at also gold and cocoa exports. Gold may be doing well in terms of its safe haven and how prices are going up. But anytime I watch the prices on Bloomberg, you see that it's always the way they use is whipsawing. At one point, you see that investors are moving into gold. At one point, they are out of gold. So I can't sit here and tell you that gold will be on the upsurge throughout, because how the virus is going, nobody can predict. Yes, then we have cocoa also. If retail demand has been affected, obviously we have confectionaries in there, chocolates. Who is going to buy chocolates at this time of such a disease? Nobody will go. So that knock-on effect on our cocoa prices will also affect us. So I'm waiting till May to see the impact, and I'm sure Bank of Ghana will capture this data in their appropriate.
And seeing that we don't know what the future holds, what should we be doing at this point? What can we do?
Okay, so let's try and conserve the foreign exchange that we so desire.
Right.
But Darryl, I was thinking about this thing. The applications to IMF, World Bank, I think this is the time we need them. You know, there was always this general perception that these institutions, the Bretton Woods institutions, don't do a lot to help us. I think we need to dissuade ourselves of this notion and move there quickly for help, because we can't do it. We don't have the budget, we don't have the space. Yesterday, I spoke to a very seasoned economic analyst, somebody who has worked in ministry whatsoever, and he says, when it comes to our fiscal, there's a little room. So we need some help.
Sorry to cut you, Philip. Sure. We want to try Jerry Kwapna-Denkwa with the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. Hopefully he's joining us via Skype from the US. Thanks for your time. How are you doing, Jerry? We can see Jerry, but I'm not too sure if you can hear us. Jerry, if you can hear me, how are you doing? Unfortunately, he can't hear us, but we'll try and re-establish connection with him. So finally, Philip, just want you to paint a picture for us of how the future is going to look like. What can we do with these numbers, really?
Yeah, so what can we do? I would say, is it good to say we can hope and pray? But
I guess that's all we can do
But we need to be pragmatic also. And these are in foreign currency. The data I showed is in dollars. It's not in Ghana cedis, it's in foreign currency. And as a country that imports a lot, even though we've seen a dip in our imports, it's going to affect us, because we don't know how things are going to go, what we're going to need, how much we're going to burn in terms of our exchange reserves, and what's available to us from these Bretton Woods institutions. I think for now, we know our situation on the ground in Ghana, we know our needs. If the Bretton Woods institutions, World Bank, IMF, and then even the African institutions, African Development Bank, can step in, provide us some stimulus, I think we need to tap into these institutions at this time with regards to the softer loans and stuff they give us. Going commercial may be difficult at this time, may come with very high rates. I think we need to step into this place and perhaps explore our relationship with China. We are always touting the good relationship with China. If China is on some helping spree, I think we need to take advantage of it. And perhaps that's my own personal opinion. I don't know what our authorities have in store for us.
Philip Namfori, thanks very much for your perspective here on the marketplace.